In this lesson, we're going to continue looking at dynamic blocks. And what we're going to see in this lesson is just a few little tips and tricks to getting started with dynamic blocks. Primarily, how to use some dynamic blocks that are already created. So what we want to do is we want to go to our tool palette. And if you don't have your tool palette over here, you can go up to your menu bar. You can select View, and that brings up the ribbon for View. And over here, you have the options to open your tool palette or your property palette or to close them. If I click this, it's a toggle, so you'll see that my tool palette disappears over here on the side, and if I click it again, the tool palette reappears. So once you have your tool palette opened up, we'll go ahead and expand it and lock it into place. And we can see here that we have these tabs for different disciplines of drafting. So for example, there's an architectural tab, and we want to use some of these existing dynamic blocks. And the way that you know that it's a dynamic block is because of this little symbol, this little lightning bolt looking symbol that's on the side of the blocks. If it has that little lightning bolt, then it is a dynamic block. So we can see here that we can insert a door or window or something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert this aluminum window block. I'm going to just click on it to insert it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can kind of see what I'm dragging around. And here's one of the tips that I want to show you today is the ability to insert a block from a different insertion point than it was created with. Now, we've been using blocks for a long time. If you've been using AutoCAD for any period of time, you've obviously ran across blocks by now. And if you've been using AutoCAD for a long period of time, you probably have entire block libraries. And when you create a block, one of the things that you do is you define the insertion point. And the insertion point is the point by which you drag the block around. So in this case, it's the bottom left-hand corner of the window. Now, if I want to insert this block to a different insertion point, we can do that. Look down at your command line and you'll see that it says specify insertion point or base point. And the B in base point is capitalized, so that means that's the shortcut key for it. So I'm going to type in B. And notice now my block just kind of stops. It just drops onto the screen wherever I'm at. It almost looks as though I've already inserted it, but we can look down at our command line again, and it says specify base point. I can now snap to any point, or I can just pick any point on the block as my base point. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick, I'm going to O-snap to the midpoint of the bottom of the window. Now that is my base point for the window. I know that for many of you that might be a new little trick. And I know that a lot of people still will insert the block wherever on the screen and then move it to the point that they want it to go to. So this saves some steps, and anything that we can save steps, especially on tasks that we repeat over and over again, then it really does add up and save us a lot of time and productivity. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this block just anywhere here on the screen. And it appears to be like any other block right now. There's no behavior that's different than any other block. Now, if we click on this block, now we can see that we have some differences here. We have these little grips right here. And these grips allow us to do different things. The shape of the grip determines the actions that are possible. Actually, in dynamic blocks, they're not even called grips. They're called parameter controls. And if you look at the parameter controls, you get an idea of what exactly the block will do. For example, this little triangle here allows you to change the linear or the length of a block. This little square right here, notice that it might be kind of hard to tell on the screen, but if you're following along on your computer, you'll notice that it's actually darker blue than the other grips that are on this or controls that are on this block. And that's because that's the base point control point. So anytime you have a square control, what that allows you to do is to change a point, a location. So if I click on that point, that control, it allows me to drag the block around. It's basically the base point or the insertion point of the block. Now if I click to activate, and if I just hover over this grip right here, notice that it tells me that the overall width is 3 foot currently. Now, the reason it's telling me that is because if you look down here on your little toggles, one of them is called dynamic input. Now if that's toggled off and I just hover on that button, on that control grip, it's not going to tell me that distance. So you can toggle that on to have that ability to kind of see what it is currently. Now if I click it to activate it, I can see these little tick marks, and the tick marks tell me where all the stop points that I can set this block to. So I can make it 1 foot, I can make it 2 foot, 2 foot 6, 3 foot, 3 foot 6, 4, 4 foot 6, and 5. It will not allow me to put it at any other dimension. So if I just want to type in